Okay, one of the biggest justifications that the open everything crowd has given for why everything should always have been open throughout the pandemic. This includes Trump, Republicans, Fox News hosts, everybody. The justification was quarantines, guidelines, so-called lockdowns, even though the US didn't have lockdowns. That is causing suicides to explode. Suicides are way up. Except we now know that it was completely untrue. We now have the suicide numbers from 2020. We can know whether that actually happened. And the thought went, sure, people might die from COVID if things are open, but people will die by suicide if things are closed. Trump endlessly said it. Suicides are up. Suicide. Here's one example.
A prolonged lockdown combined with a forced economic depression would inflict an immense and wide-ranging toll on public health. This includes a sharp rise in drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide, heart disease, and many other dimensions of physical and mental well-being. Moreover, many patients have put needed medical care on hold, creating entirely new hazards for public health. Our country has suffered. The world has suffered.
Here's another example of Trump making the same claim.
On the IHME model, which is now showing 134,000 deaths by August, doubling its previous prediction, are you concerned that that's happening because some of these states are relaxing guidelines too early?
No, I'm not, because that assumes no mitigation. And we're going to have mitigation. No, we're letting people out. But the fact that we're letting people go to their jobs, they have to do it. You know, if they held people any longer with the shutdowns, and you're going to lose people that way too. And you already have, I'm sure. But between drug abuse and, they say suicide, a lot of different things.
Suicides way up. I could play a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 50, 100 of these clips of Trump and other Republicans talking about suicides. Suicides were down in the United States in 2020. We now have the numbers. They claimed it without evidence. Lots of people fell for it. Many people repeated it. And it simply was not true. Suicides in the United States decreased in 2020, according to early data from the CDC. Suicides in 2020 believed to be the lowest in 5 years, roughly on par with the lowest in 6 years, according to the new CDC data. Suicides declining 5.6% in 2020 from 2019. Now, just because they were wrong, as they almost always are, doesn't mean there aren't issues of concern here. This doesn't mean there won't be serious long-term psychological effects from the pandemic. There will be PTSD, agoraphobia, the continued feeling that the world is dangerous and, we have to stay home, we have to stay hidden. It's a long list and there will be serious consequences for years. And yes, part of it will be from the isolation of the pandemic. Part of it will be from people getting COVID and dying, or having a friend or family member who got COVID and died. But the notion that the COVID prevention efforts did more harm than good because suicides are way up is simply not true. The economy is recovering very nicely. The US government should have done more during the bottom, no doubt about it. But we are seeing that the, quote, lockdowns, which weren't lockdowns, did not do irreparable harm to the U.S. economy. It did change the economy. The economy we have at the end of this year is going to be different than the one that we had in January of 2020, no doubt about it. The other issue, just because death by suicide was down in 2020 doesn't mean any great victory. It was down 5%. Nearly 45,000 people still died by suicide in the United States in 2020. That's horrible. That has to be dealt with. That is still a crisis. But the point is, suicide didn't explode because of the guidelines that were recommended by public health experts. One other note, suicide could be down, but depression could be up. And we still need to deal with that. That also has to be looked at. So this is not about everything they said should have been ignored. It's about one of their main empirical claims, suicides are way up, was factually wrong. One other note. The takeaway for me is not the isolation and the guidelines and the distancing aren't so bad. That's not really a interesting takeaway. It's not an actionable takeaway. For me, it's more about We should have a more flexible system as a matter of status quo so that people who do better with work from home can do it. We have the technology for it. There's no reason not to. And increasingly, if you look at what's happening with office space demand, it seems as though that is a change that will become at least potentially semi-permanent in the economy. But they were wrong again. No explosion in suicides. Suicides down 5%. Now, if you or someone you know is not doing well, maybe considering suicide, there are free resources available. Okay? The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, you can call it 24 hours a day, 800-273-8255. Okay? Free 24 hours a day, 1-800-273-8255. Available to you. Make it available to anyone you know. The crisis text line, if you don't want to get on the phone with someone, if you prefer to text, that's fine. You can text the word home to 741-741. That's the 24/7 free crisis text line. There are resources available. Make sure you know them. Make sure other people you know are aware of them.